it's got like a globe spinning and all this like all this music like you would see on the old breaking news things.
Yeah, like you paid $50 on Pond 5 for some stock footage of news.
Yeah, and then it rolls in with this audio. Listen to this.
This is awful animation.
You see how bad that is?
It's terrible. It's slow. Like, why would anyone even keep watching at this point?
Listen to the voice.
I'm not even to the voice yet.
Oh.
Washington today. After Trump sends message to RBG, he breaks silence on big plans for Supreme Court. President Donald Trump spoke about Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's ailing health earlier this week and revealed that he might nominate if she retires. During an interview with the Daily Caller,
this is clumsy.
Ginsburg
so
all right, I'm done.
Yeah, so that
awful. I'm uncomfortable watching it.
After I identified this behavior, YouTube started shutting it down because I made it popular in this Twitter thread. But I was able to save a couple of them beforehand because I knew it was going to be weird. So those things had like hundreds of thousands of views. It had a huge like to dislike ratio. So where does your brain go? Obviously, this is inauthentic.
Obvious fraud.
Yeah. But how do you amass hundreds of thousands of views? And so I was like, what up? So I wrote a script out. I listened to the words that they were saying, and I typed all of them out in a notepad file.
Yeah, I called you when you were in the middle of that. It's about the hardest you've gone, can't talk, brain engaged, bye, in a really long time.
I did do that, didn't I? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was full Heisman stiff arm.
It was worth it, though. I was in the
genius at work. Excuse me, please.
This episode of No Dumb Questions is sponsored by HelloFresh, a meal kit delivery service that brings food to your house. It's like mailing you Tasty Yummies. Do you get Tasty Yummies mailed to your house, Matt?
Yes, you know dang well that I do, and you know dang well that I like it. And
I know dang well.
I've gushed about this before, but I'm a sucker for good branding and clear, simple communication. I'm one of those guys, like I was unpacking Walmart furniture, and I opened it up as a bookshelf, and I was like, I don't know, 6 pages of instructions with drawings? I don't know if I can, and I can always figure it out. But HelloFresh, I open the package, I take out the card, and I immediately feel like I can do this.
I know exactly what to do.
So well presented.
Oh yeah. They have to have some type of psychological people on staff that help make these, and graphic designers that make these recipe cards, because they're amazing.
To me, they're like how I felt about getting baseball cards that I prized when I was a kid. I love my HelloFresh recipe collection. It's like a wall of fame of all of the stuff that I learned how to cook.
And right there at the front is Steak and Sass. That's where, like, you're Wade Boggs. No, you weren't Wade Boggs. You were George Brett, right?
Thank you. You know what? We're good friends. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for listening. Cal Ripken.
Cal Ripken Jr.
See, I'm paying attention too.
Yep. So you're saying Steak and Sass would be your George Brett rookie card?
Yeah, I'd frame that and get it signed. Like if Steak and Sass was doing an event, like at a local mall or something, I would definitely go over and have Steak and Sass just dribble its signature all over my card. Absolutely.
All right, that's it. So let's tell people what they can do. So the point is, you too can have HelloFresh. You can go to HelloFresh.com/NDQ80 and enter the promo code NDQ80 at checkout. That gets you $80 off your first month, and that is like $20 off the first 4 boxes. So it's like getting 8 meals for free. And you get to go to the website and pick out what kind of meal you want. It's kind of a thing. We go through and we look at all the meals together every once in a while, and we'll pick them.
The grocery store overwhelms me.
Yeah.
I get lists. I go. I love my wife. I want to be supportive and helpful. But it's kind of like how I feel about the instructions for the bookcase. It's just a little too much. I can't picture everything I'm going to need or how it's all going to go together. But I like the idea of going on the internet and looking at beautiful pictures of food that I want to eat and being like, I want that. I want that. I don't know how to get it or what, but I want it in my face. So just send that to me, and then I'm going to make it and eat it. And so it's like cool, complicated, good food is now possible for me, and I get to participate.
I would kind of disagree with the complicated part. It is complicated in that when you get done, you're like, I have no right to make something this awesome because I just made a sauce, and I'm not smart enough to do that. But it's not complicated to actually do it.
No, by complicated, I mean the taste.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know how fancy, like, sommelier wine people are? I was like, no, this was complicated.
Right.
I don't know what they're talking about. It just tastes like wine to me. But the food, I get it. I understand with the first bite, this is different than, there are more flavors happening here than what I would do left to my own ends. And I like that I'm trying to sort through all of the things that make it delicious.
Right.
No, it's ridiculously easy, which is my point about the instructions. To get something that is so complex, that's the term.
Complex.
Complex in taste without being complicated. That's kind of the sweet spot.
That sounded good. Complex in taste.
Did that work?
You should tell them that. Okay, so here, let me just do the promo code one more time just so people get it. So get $80 off your first month by going to HelloFresh.com/IndyQ80 and enter IndyQ80 at checkout. Again, that's like getting 8 meals for free. That's $20 off your first 4 boxes. You're going to dig it.
Absolutely. Thanks again to HelloFresh for being a part of No Dumb Questions, and thanks again to HelloFresh for being a part of Dinner at the Whitman household.
In the Sandlin household as well. Rock and roll. I think it was important. I think it's going to be very important.
It was important.
Yeah. And so I typed all that stuff out, and then I went to Google and I would enter different sections of the text. And so there's this thing on a YouTube video where they have an automated captions service, and those captions are inserted in the metadata for each YouTube video.
Okay.
And so you can search for words on Google, and that will roll it into the YouTube search. Am I making any sense? I'm not using the words correctly.
I'm going to go with yes-ish.
So if I search for words that are typed in a script, it will search the automated caption files for each YouTube video.
Right. Yeah, I'm tracking.
Okay, so I just did that. I found dozens of videos of this exact script, which if you think about it, the script is the hard part to write. Dozens of videos of this exact script, but the things were different in the video. For example, the automated voice was different.
Really?
The images on the screen were different. What's it called? The Carl Burns effect? Is that what that's called?
Ken Burns.
Ken Burns. The Ken Burns effect was used, but it was used from different starting point keyframes.
So you're keyframing from a different anchor point.
Exactly. So all these things were happening, and the reason they did that is because the way the YouTube Content ID algorithm works is you hash an image. So every frame on a video is hashed. They take all the pixels, they add them up, and they come up with a number. And that number is how they compare Content ID. It's a really complicated thing, but if you change the footage enough, you can get around the hash function Content ID system on YouTube. So it's a countermeasure.
That's why a lot of videos you see where people are scamming someone else's content, they'll goof with the aspect ratio, they'll stretch the image, they'll crop it awkwardly, goofy stuff like that. Like in any of the channels that just harvest stuff from cable news and then show cable news segments, they all use that trick.
And if you think about it, that's a legit countermeasure, right?
Yeah, it's a legit countermeasure because some stuff is fair use.
But it's more than that. So these people know they're stealing something, and so YouTube has developed a countermeasure to fix that, and that is Content ID system.
Yeah.
Well, then these people go one step further, and they take these stretch mechanisms or whatever, and they create a countermeasure. And so I'm thinking about all this stuff. I'm like, this is war is what this is. This is just the escalation of how these things work. And
and at what point will YouTube update their counter measures to run that hash over everything, but to run it in different aspect ratios and to compress it and stretch it to try to catch any of those tricks?
Exactly. So
they'll figure it out.
I decided to get on a plane and go to YouTube. But before I did that, let me explain some of the other things they were doing. My assumption is that they were creating dozens of these videos, and the idea is they would go in with these sleeper login accounts, and they would upvote these videos and create inauthentic behavior on the videos to make them look like they were good and make them rise up in the YouTube algorithm. But more importantly, if you do this and people start clicking on these things, it'll start suggesting similar content. So in my mind, what they're doing is they're creating dozens of videos that look like the same thing, and they artificially inflate them using their sleeper accounts or whatever they're doing, and have those videos recommend similar videos. And if you do that enough, eventually one of these videos will rise up out of the algorithm as the most suggested video, because all these other ones will funnel into it. This algorithmic momentum will be channeled into one of these videos, and it'll rise up above the noise floor of the YouTube algorithm, and suddenly real human eyeballs will start to see it. Does that make sense?
It all makes sense, and I'm tracking with what you're arguing in terms of how it happened. That squares with my experiences and observations on YouTube.
Okay.
But, like, the billion-dollar question, who did it, and what are they trying to accomplish?
Okay, so my next theory was, because this is political in nature...
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead. I mean...
No, you're perfect. That's perfect.
No, it's okay. I mean, you're a guy who can literally just jump on a plane and go to YouTube. Like, I didn't want to derail you.
What do you mean?
A minute ago, you're like, well, so I had a question, so I decided to just jump on a plane and go to YouTube. Like, well, sometimes I have questions, but I rarely jump on a plane and go to YouTube to ask.
Well,
like, I'm glad you're on a first-name basis with them.
Well, this is kind of how it went down. When I did this big Twitter thing, I just basically outed that the behavior was happening. I was like, I think people are manipulating the algorithm.
Yeah.
My gut reaction wasn't YouTube bad, let's all hate YouTube, because that's what the world does right now.
Well, and we like YouTube.
Yeah.
They're a good partner.